Gustov. Gustov is the one that we need.
Right, mate. Well, I can tell you, he's 34-year-old.
They throw it all in the hole anyway. Now, there's no bones or corpse bodies or nothing in that hole that we can see, but I bet you there would be down the bottom. Good morning from Mount Greenock. Is there such a thing? Well, yeah, there is, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Here's what I know, right? Mount Greenock it's a mining site, it's a geological site, and what I do know about geological site is there's no shooting. You're not allowed to shoot guns on a geological reserve. The other thing that I know about a geological reserve is that this one in particular was responsible for the death of a guy by the name of Gustov Schroeder. And he died in 1884, fiddling around in a mine shaft. Well, that was his job. He wasn't really fiddling around, but him and his comrades, they were down there doing what they do, and yeah, it bit him in the arse, man, and it caved in. So they were fiddling around with some of the shoring. So the shoring is like the wooden, you know, the wooden safety blah blah that holds the mine roof up. They were fiddling around with the shoring. Some of it got moved. I don't know why. It caved in. Long story short, it killed him.
Just button in real quick here. This is an extract from a newspaper article dated 19th of May 1884. It says briefly here that a fatal accident occurred on Saturday in the South Greenock mine, Talbot. Gustov Schroeder and 3 companions were working in a block drive of number 1 main north of the wash drive. When the timbering fell and brought down a large quantity of earth, Schroeder was buried underneath the earth, but the others escaped. His dead body was recovered 4 hours after the accident. Now back to the video.
And this is the site that we think that it happened at. Now there's a few mines in the district. Mount Greenock is the one that we're currently at. That's where I'm coming to you from as we speak. There's another one across the road that falls on private property, and the people are very unapproachable to anyone going on that property. So we're not going to do that because, well, we can't do that. But this property here is this property here is well, it's not a private property. It's a geological reserve, so it is open to anybody. Anybody can come in here and have a look. There is a gate out front with a snib lock on it, but that's cool, man. There's no dramas. You just unsnib it and snib the gate lock in case there's cattle in here. But anyone's welcome to come in here. Like I say, we're about 2 hours west of Melbourne. It's just a reserve. Like, would I encourage you to come out here? Probably not, but we're going to have a look around. And I want to get to the bottom of this Gustov story. The newspapers list him as Henry. I don't know whether he had like an alias name or something like that, but yeah, he is listed as Henry. But I believe his grave is noted as Gustov, so we've got to go and find that too. I don't know whether we will find it, mate, but you're going to come along and we're going to try and find it together. So let's check this mine inside out. Let's go. Wow. This is wild. I kind of wasn't expecting to see so much quartz. But this rock is, this is deep. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this is deep lead mining rock. And Jesus, they've pulled some rock out. They must have had a stamping battery here to be able to crush this much rock. So they would have had one on site to be able to process such a field of rock. In recent times, somebody's been here. This has clearly been dug out with modern machines like a skid steer or something's been here scratching around, but they use it. I mean, it's still good rock. If you went to a soil yard and had to pay for rock like this, it would be, I don't know, probably $100 a metre. Maybe $140 for each cubic metre or per small bucket. So it's expensive. You know, we're standing literally on a gold mine of just rock alone. So yeah, people will pilfer it, they will steal it, they will find a use for it. But where was the actual mine? That's what I want to know. Where's the hole in the ground, brother? That's what I'm looking for. Old wood beams like this are a bit of a giveaway. See that wood beam? It's not really that old, to be honest. I don't know what all this rock is. This is getting off topic. I wonder where the actual mine was. Where's the hole? We might find it yet. It might be up here. That's it. That's the shaft. That's the shaft. Very, very unstable. Look at this. And the shaft itself, as you can see down there, I don't want to get too close to this because they cave in, mate. It's a fair way down. I don't know, what would that be? 5 metres? 6 metres off of the ground level that I'm standing on at the minute. It's a fair way down. You can see, I would say you could see a bit of darkness in and amongst that barbed wire down there, but I don't think so. It's probably capped off to some degree. The top of them is generally plugged. I can't be 100% if this is the mine that Mr. Schroeder was killed in, but the chance of it's pretty good. I mean, there's only one Mount Greenock, and there's only one mine that I can see on the site. I'm really honestly thinking that we're standing on the site where they pulled his body out. Yeah, again, I really can't be 100%, but I kind of feel like that's it. We're at Mount Greenock. There's only one site, there's only one hole. Yeah, I reckon that's it. So if it is, this hole right here, this is where it all went down. I don't know what the drive was. There are some newspaper articles that I found on Trove. So Trove is like an online newspaper source where you can look up old newspaper articles and gazettes. So if you punch in any details into Google, Google will generally bump steer you to Trove. Trove's a brilliant system. If you've never used it, you should try it. I love Trove. Trove's awesome. Like if you get on Trove, you can look up keywords, mining accident, Talbot, because we're near Talbot, or mining accident, Mount Greenock. It will find like articles relating to that and those keywords. And from that, you can find an exact extract of the newspaper article of the day. So we're talking 1884, mate. That predates the turn of the century. That shit's epic. How do you find, like, how else do you find that? What, go to your grandma's house and try and find the newspapers in her garage? As if. So yeah, I like Trove. Trove gives me a lot of brilliant information. But I'm not seeing any other. Sometimes these sites had multiple, they had like multiple shafts. You know, they would go down in one spot and then try and link the tunnels up underneath. And not to say that the whole area hasn't been sort of dug at, but that's the shaft. I think that's one of one. I'm actually really starting to think that that shaft is one of one. And we're just at the minute, I'm just standing on the mullock, on the dirt patch that come out of it. It's probably not going to show up on camera, right? Actually, I'm sure it's not going to show up on camera. But out here in the distance, we can see this beautiful property. Part 2, or the second installment of this mine, is out there. So back in the day, it just would have been like one mine site here, another mine site just over yonder, quick horse and cart ride between the two. Nowadays, we've got a highway running through the middle, we've got service roads, private access, all fenced off. You're not getting in there. They don't want no one in there, so don't try. But yeah, that's where we tried to get earlier to see the second part of this mining site, but it's not happening, so this one will have to do. So if you do a bit of a search on the internet about Mr. Schroeder, it does go on to say that he hangs out on this mountain. So this is Mount Greenock, and I've been saying that quite a bit, yeah? I think I'm saying that right. I feel like I'm saying that right, but maybe I'm not. But anyway, Mount Greenock, they say that he actually hangs out here. His ghost hangs out here is what they're saying. They reckon that the legend has it that many prospectors, many people that come up here frolicking around, they've encountered him. And they say that they've encountered him because they believe that he never really left. He's still hunting for his sack of gold. It doesn't really say whether he's like on horseback or whether he's just like, yeah, frolicking around himself, like whether he's just walking around, whether he's just standing there, whether he's just trying to freak people out and get them to boot off. It doesn't really say, mate, but that mountain right there is where they reckon that they see him. So if you're ever up here prospecting, snooping around for gold, just remember that old mate Schroeder up there, he's watching us. And I don't know whether that freaks you out a little bit, but it kind of freaks me out a little bit. It's a beautiful sunny day, but maybe not always. Maybe up here at dusk or, you know, whatever. I'm not worried if you're not worried. Are you worried? We've got to go to, it's a bit of a bump steer because we're about 5 minutes out of Talbot. I've done a complete video on Talbot a few weeks back. Talbot's beautiful, mate. If you've never been to Talbot, you need to get there, but it's not a free plug. It's really not a free plug for Talbot. But if you've never been, you should go. But the cemetery that this guy, Gustov, is buried in is the Talbot Cemetery. But if you look up the Talbot Cemetery, it's not really called that. It's called the Amherst Cemetery. And I don't know why. It's just how it's turned out. So from here, we go into Talbot. From Talbot, we go out to the Amherst Cemetery. They're sort of all in line with each other. 5 minutes to Talbot, 5 minutes out to the cemetery. You see where I'm going with it. Look it up on the map, you'll see. But yeah, I'm getting puffed out walking around here too, just quietly, ex-smoker. I'm still talking gibberish, I know we're going to the cemetery. We're going to see if we can find out where old mate Schroeder was laid to rest. You coming with me? Let's do this. Come on, we're going.
Yeah, Shotler, no.
Schroeder, so S-C-H is how we spell it, sir.
Yeah, no, what I got here, there's two. There's Bridget, and there's the Schroeder, Gustov.
Gustov is the one that we need.
Right, mate. Well, I can tell you, he's 34 years old. He's in the Presbyterian section.
Presbyterian, yes.
Yeah, that's near the rotunda on the right-hand side as you drive up from the front gate.
Yes, sir, yep.
And he's in grave number 3 in row 9.
Grave 3, row 9.
Yep. He's actually in there with Bridget.
Ah, so Bridget shares the grave with him.
Yeah, she went in there the 16th to the 12th. 1886, and she was 45.
Wow. Yeah, right. So she went in there 2 years later, is that right?
Yeah, that's what it says here, mate. He went in on the 19th of May in 1884.
Yes.
He was 34 years old. And as you say, he was a miner.
That's funny because the history books say he was 23 or 24, but then your records say he was 34. So maybe nobody knew how old he was and he bluffed them all.
Yeah, well, I can't go back that far, mate, but it says here 19th of May, 1884.
Yeah,
That's
right.
What my records say. And then Bridget went in on the 16th of the 12th, 1886.
Okay. Good on you, mate. We appreciate that.
No, you're not a problem, mate. Only happy to help you.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks.
Okay, mate. Thank you.
You have a good day. See you, Alan. Thank you. All right, you heard it there first. So Alan, he was pretty happy, helpful sort of a guy. So we're going to go in here and see if we can find Gustov or Henry. I don't know. What are we going to call him? He's named himself as Henry. Other people have called him Gustov. I think his birth name is probably Gustov. So this is the Amherst/Talbot Cemetery. There is a complete video of this cemetery coming up on this channel. So if you haven't, if it's not out, I'm not sure what order they're going to go yet, but one way or the other, if it's not already posted, it will be posted in the coming weeks, if not in the coming 4 to 6 weeks generally. The filming schedules are for us at the moment. Presbyterian section to the rotunda. So here's the rotunda that he was talking about right here, right? There's the rotunda, 3, 4, 5, 9, grave number 3. Row 9, grave 1, grave 2, grave 3. Yeah, well, a miner back in the day probably didn't have much money unless he found gold, and story is he's still haunting that hill looking for his gold. So I don't know what more than this I can bring you guys. I can't make something up that doesn't exist. If we go down this aisle a little bit further, the next thing in line, just for the sake of it, let's have a look. Yeah, no, John Henry and Eliza something. Geez, the date's on point though. 1884, that's the same year that Gustov died. The same year that he died, Eliza. No, John was getting buried here by Eliza. Eliza stood here burying John. Does that make sense? Or did I spit it out too quick? It says, life is full of trials, but they are often like signposts to guide us to a heavenly home. Well, take what you want from that, but... So yeah, this is definitely the aisle 9. It's definitely grave 3, 1, 2, 3. It's pretty basic really once you sort of thin it out, and guys, that's it. So there lies Gustov. His wife Bridget is in there as well. She died, would you believe, 2 years later. So 1884 saw him in there from his mining disaster when he was killed. 2 years later, yeah, Bridget was put in there. Not sure as to her cause of death. I may or may not download the death certificate for that. I may look into it. We know how he died, obviously, but we don't know how she died. She was not very old. Let's just say she was definitely not very old.
Boy, did I underestimate the challenge coming up right here. I jump onto the Victorian Birth, Deaths, Marriages website, and you can use this family history search tool right here, which is pretty straightforward to use. Punch in a few basic pieces of information that you have, and it brings up a list of potential candidates that you may or may not be looking for. I started looking for a Bridget in the year 1886. It brought up a heap of different ones here. I'm looking in the column right now. I'm trying to find anything from that district. So I'm looking for anything, you know, Talbot or Amherst potentially. I'm not having a whole lot of luck. Now the reason for that is just cutting in on this screenshot here. I'll show you why. I went back to basics, you see here, and I ended up going back to Gustov. So I found Gustov, and then in this column here, you can see that's his wife, Portley. So she's gone under the name Portley, see, spouse, Portley. So here I am searching now. I'm looking for a Portley, but that didn't turn up any results at all. So who am I looking for? So I go back to just looking for Bridget. I'm just looking for a Bridget that died in 1886 in that district. And I'm going through column after column until eventually I find one right there, Talbot. But the reason that I couldn't find her is that the surname is spelt totally wrong. Check this out. Spouse at death, Schroeder, Gustov, but they've spelt Schroeder with a T, not a D. Anyway, I just rolled with it. Bang, hit cart, $20. Pay your money, away we go. Once it's in your cart, confirm a couple of things, put in your credit card details. Pretty basic. They want to know who you are because they want to know who's asking for this stuff. If anybody ever goes back over the records, you know, government places like to know who they're dealing with. Simple as this, really. Put in my details, I get the certificate. It's instant. And bam, just like that, here we are. Bridget's right down the bottom. You can see her name, second square in. They're pretty basic to read, these death certificates. Once you've done a few of them, they all fall in place. They're very easy to read. The hardest part is trying to transcript the old school writing. Some of it stands out, some of it does not. Her cause of death is the third big square across. You can see where it says phthisis pulmonary. I wasn't real sure, so I used ChatGPT and that transcribed it for me. I'll show you how that went down. I normally just do this on my phone. It's so much quicker than a PC. I just zoom in on the file, take a screenshot, bam. There's the photo that I need. Once I open ChatGPT, I send that image to them, or it, let's call it an it, and it sends me back pretty much a straight up summary of what it's reading. I can ask it to elaborate. This is where I type yes. It gives me more. It's quite clever. It tells me a little bit more about phthisis and its origins, and yeah, it's a big rabbit hole if you want to keep going. That's where I stopped. Basically it was TB, tuberculosis. TB was very much a death sentence back in the gold rush days. There was not much cure for this. Infections of the lungs could last months to years, but eventually it would take its toll. The saddest part for Bridget here was that she left behind 4 children, Emily at 11, Louisa aged 10, Annie aged 8, and Lizzie aged 6 years. So it is a sad story. Those little kids had to bury their mum because of an infection that we've not conquered it, but we have a better understanding and a far better remedy to try and cure it. I spend an enormous amount of time looking at these death certificates, and there's an element of surprise every time I do one. There's always another interesting entry, perhaps on the same page. You never really know what you're going to get. There's some terrific stories. There's some very sad stories. It is horrific, the things that have happened to some people throughout our history. So every time I download one of these certificates, I'm always excited to see what I'm going to get. And some of the stories that I presented to you guys have just been stumbled upon through downloading these very certificates. So if you ever get an opportunity to download a historic death certificate for the sake of the $20, I recommend you do it. You never know what you're going to get, and there are some truly brilliant stories to be found.
Yeah, so here we go. Bridget, I've just had a quick peek on Find a Grave live while I'm standing here because I just thought that's the best time to do it. Why not? It actually says that Bridget, she was aged 44 or 45, yeah, 16th of December 1886 saw her put here. She was born in 1841. So that's all it tells us, right? Doesn't tell us any more. It's actually, I should have done that in the first place because it has her plot on here. I don't know why, but it has her plot on Find a Grave, and it's exactly what the gentleman Alan just told us on the telephone. Presbyterian 9-3. Death date listed may be the interment date. So that's generally how it went down. They didn't really store bodies for long back in the day. If you died in the morning, there's a good chance you would be in the hole by nightfall. And if you died later in the day, almost guaranteed you that you would be going in a hole the following day. They did not store bodies for very long at all pre-1900. It was very, very common practice to smack them straight in that hole. So Gustov, I'm not sure his timeline, but I'm pretty confident 4 hours after he was killed in the rockfall, he was pulled out of the rubble. The next day he was buried. The inquest, believe it or not, into his death, he was killed. Gustov was killed on the 19th. There was a complete inquest into his death. And by the 29th of that month, the inquest was over. Yeah, so by the 29th of that month, he was cleared as a mine owner. That was it. The case was dismissed. I'm pretty confident that the mine owner obviously had the judge in his pocket or paid him off or something, because for it to be done in 10 days is pretty uncanny. Could you imagine that nowadays? If somebody got killed in a mine, that would be going on for 3 to several years, an inquest into a man's death under those circumstances, but not back then. 10 days later, all sweet, mate, clear to open, keep mining, go for it. They just blamed him and threw him in the ground, and that was the end of that. But Yeah, it's pretty wild. Anyway, that's it. That's our findings. That's where he wound up. Anyway, dudes, if you hung out with me on the video for this long, I appreciate you for that. And may Henry or Gustov or whoever he wants to be known as and his partner Bridget, may they rest in peace. And yeah, we will catch up on the next run, guys. All the best and bye, everyone.